Hello, my name is Yuri and I'm a cleanup artist for World Anime Networks Inc. This video shows the usual process for cleaning up second keyframes in our studio. If you're not familiar with what a second keyframe is, basically it's the cleaner version of the keyframe that animators draw roughly like these ones here. Our job as cleanup artists is to clean it up, make sure it's accurate according to the character sheet, and make it ready for the in-between stage with instructions and shadow placement. So first, set up the clip file to make sure the process is as streamlined as possible. Add the rough keyframes and corrections into the light table. Make sure you have your timeline accurate according to the type sheet. Then I start tracing the keyframe with the clearest correction. Try to find references in the character sheet for parts that you're not sure how to trace. Starting off with small details like the snows can really help warm you up. The varying line weight you see here is essential in capturing the nuances of the rough keyframe, and it also adds character to the whole drawing. Make sure you capture the curve as accurately as you can. But don't spend the whole time pressing undo and just drawing the same line over and over again. I'm always rotating the canvas because the stroke that is the fastest and most accurate for me is from left to right in an upward motion, so I work around what makes the process as fast as it can be. But while speed is important in animation, it's okay to slow down and make the quality good as well. So every now and then we check the cleaned up lines compared to the correction lines and fix the most obvious differences. Make sure the line lengths follow the correction. For the ear, I made sure that I had the reference sheet for quick referencing. Usually the zoom limit for cleanup is 150%, but if it slows you down more than it speeds you up, it's alright to zoom in a bit more. Try not to zoom into 1000% though. The ear's done, checking it against the rough keyframe. Cleaning up some sharp edges. And now that I'm warmed up, I'm gonna move to the eyes. The eyes are super important in anime, so try to spend as much time as you need making the eyes look clean and accurate. You can even zoom in more than usual. So way off. Drawing the eyelashes is difficult at first because you need to get the sharpness and the length and the spacing accurately. So working on it over and over again is pretty natural when it comes to the eyes. Finding that balance between following the correction and following the character sheet is also pretty difficult at first. I recommend taking it slowly with the eyes. See, I'm more worried about the character sheet right now. But it's so off, the correction. We'll fix that in a bit. See? It's very off. That'll come back as a retake. It's a bit closer to the correction. Now, tracing something circular, freehand, is very difficult, so I like to take it slow and let the line weight sort of help make it give the illusion of it being perfectly circular. If not perfectly circular, at least look circular. This is where having varying line weights really help. After tracing it accurately according to the correction, I fix whatever looks off. Make the spacing even, the thickness of the pupils. And the highlights of the eyes. I traced the color line right away because while we're zoomed into the eye, we can see the details better, and it's better to just finish it, the entire eye, right away. Line weight is helping here. See, for a complex shadow like this and very faint corrections, it's so helpful to have the character sheet. Now that shadow line, the shadow of the eyeball itself, it's missing from the corrections, but it's there in the character sheet. Adding the tears in a different color, just to help the in-betweeners differentiate the details of the eye and the tear. Making sure I match the eyelashes of the right eye with the left eye. Since the correction is very faint, I do my best to follow the shape of it at least, then match the details with the other eye. Refining the other eye according to the sheet. Now I'm worried about the bottom part of the eye, since it's very thin in the character sheet. But I don't want to change it too much so that I have to change the other eye again. So it's a balance of following the shape of the correction and the details of the character sheet, as well as limiting unnecessary work as possible. Adjusting and adjusting. Adding details, shadow lines, and the eyes are finished. Trying to find a reference for cheek blush, but since there's none, I'm going to follow the correction as accurately as I can. Time for the hair. For hair, I usually don't make it as accurate as the eyes. I don't spend so much time on the hair. Of course, you follow the corrections as much as you can, but you also speed it up a bit with these kinds of details like clothes and hair. Also, using a vector layer for hair helps with erasing cross sections, like these. Broad, long strokes is usually recommended for hair. While it's hard to control, going back and doubling over it is pretty helpful to make it follow the direction of the rough keyframe. Checking against the light table to see if there's anything very off. We find the part here. Finishing the rest of the hair. For these parts of the hair, these long strands, make sure you check the reference to see if it's behind the shoulder or in front of the shoulder. And now tracing the neck. Neck and the flesh in general have very subtle nuances that shows it's soft and not perfectly straight. As you can see with the line weight here, it changes when there's a bump or an indent to show that this skin is soft and organic. Erasing the overlap. Making sure I check the character sheet to see which parts of this angle are hair and negative space. The black lines, the actual lines, are finished, except for the mouth. Since the mouth is lip sync and the rough keyframe says it's open mouth. What our studio practices is that the base cell usually has the closed mouth. That's why I haven't traced the open mouth here in this keyframe. Instead, we trace the closed mouth, making sure we follow the corners. Corners of the mouth are the most important nuances for lip sync. It's too circular. Checking against the light table. And now it's time for the color lines of the body. Usually the color lines of the body are looser. You can spend less time on it, so long as you get the intention of the keyframe right. Making sure I follow the curvature of the body, keeping in mind the 3D shape. This is where line weight is very, very helpful. Shadows done. The green lines are lines that say where there's a hidden line. It helps the in-betweeners to make in-betweens and minimizes the margin of error. The little red X shows where there's nothing, where there's negative space. And instructing the keyframes number and lip sync. Checking for any corrections or instructions in the other correction keyframes. Making sure you don't miss any instructions for the in-betweeners. And time to place shadows. Shadow placements. These aren't the final colors of the anime, these just show where the shadows should go. But we use standard colors in our studio. It's always flesh for flesh tones, green for black, red for reddish, yellow for highlights. There's still a standard to placing shadows. Adding details that I missed before to make sure the details match with the eyes. Now coloring the hair. I use a pencil to fill in the parts that the paint bucket can't fill in, just to make sure there's no little white pixels. Highlights. And day 2 is done. A1 has corrections that are rougher and incomplete, so we'll be tracing it a little bit faster than A2. I noticed that the A1's nose was clearer than A2, so I traced A1 and changed A2 according to A1. Consistency is very important in keyframes so that the in-betweeners don't get too confused. I'd recommend tracing hair a bit more carefully than this video, but for demonstrative purposes, this is the speed that would be ideal. Alright, the hair's done. Time to trace the body, same as before. Now the body's done. The actual lines for A1 are done. What's left is to check if it's consistent with A2. Since A2 was the clearest keyframe, I'm gonna use that as a basis for A1. So I put A2 in the light table and use it to cross-reference A1's details. Okay, so first off, this strand of hair, the fold is in a different direction. That's almost impossible to in-between, at least in my experience. When I tried to in-between that kind of hair strand, it was very difficult, so I'm gonna fix it. Next up, this hair should part. I'm trying to follow the shape of the correction and A2 at the same time. It's a nice balance. That's what we're looking for. So that's in-betweenable to move on. Checking the number of hair spikes, the parts. So I notice this hair parts differently. Try to follow A2. This is a little complex. The spikes actually increase, so I can adjust A2 instead by adding just one. Minimal changes is the best. Now I'm noticing that the neck sort of grows abnormally, and that's a little impossible. So I just sort of add one line that helps tell you where the base of the neck is, all while hoping it doesn't come back as a retake. That's a large adjustment, and I'm feeling comfortable with doing it because A1's correction is not as clean as A2's correction. I changed the angle of the cheek blush according to the change of angle in the head of A2 and A1. So I don't just drag A2 and trace A2's details. Since the perspective changes, I can't do that. adding shadows of the hair. What's important to look here is the spacing of shadows, the volume of shadows, and normal color, and try to apply it to A1. So you can see the neck shadow is very off. Sometimes lighting changes, but that didn't make sense. That's a bit more natural. Noticed some mist colors from A2, mist details. Adding the X's for A1. Now adding the colors. Now it's time to instruct the keyframe number, making sure I didn't miss any instructions. And cell A is done. The last part is to draw B2, which is the open mouth of the lip sync that was originally on A2. Tracing. Now I'm just making sure the corners of the mouth are accurate and adjusting close to the arm. It's completely in shadow, so I color it like that. B2. And we're done. That's the usual process for cleaning up second keyframes that I do. Cleaning up is very enjoyable, and it's almost like a puzzle because you're trying to find a nice balance between adjustment and accuracy, and you also have to be fast and accurate at the same time. I think experience really does help in making you a better cleanup artist. Although I'm still a very young and rookie cleanup artist, I think anybody who wants to be a cleanup artist can be one with just practice and time. That's all. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to check out World Anime Networks in our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Bye bye.